Hey, everybody, and welcome to our deep dive.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to be looking at democracy.
Oh, yeah.
Or with all music.
Through a pretty unique lens, we're going to be checking out the music of a band called TATANKA.
TATANKA, yeah.
They just dropped this album called Democracy. And it's got this really cool...
It's powerful.
Raw grunge energy.
Yeah, and that classic protest rock vibe, too.
Mixed with that classic protest rock vibe, yeah.
Absolutely. Ready to dissect some lyrics.
Yeah, are you ready to kind of like dissect some lyrics and see what they have to say about the state of democracy today?
Let's do it.
Okay, so starting right off the bat, they hit you with this song.
Oh, yeah.
Called Electoral Circus, Lions, Clowns, and Votes. Have you ever felt like elections are more about spectacle than substance?
All the time.
Yeah.
Especially these days, right? I mean, it's like a reality show.
Yeah.
And I think TATANKA really nails that feeling of being stuck in a rigged game. Okay.
You know they've got those lines about politicians like juggling promises with crocodile grins and lurking in the lion's den.
Wow.
With their suits and ties.
Okay.
It makes you think about how much is genuine versus just calculated performance.
Right. It makes you wonder how much of what we see during campaigns is about serving the people versus serving their own ambitions.
Totally. Their ego,
their
ambition.
Speaking of self-serving, their next track, Tribal War in Suit and Tie.
Oh, yeah. This one's a banger.
Dives headfirst into the polarization we're seeing everywhere these days.
Everywhere you look.
Yeah.
It's like we're at war with each other.
Yeah, it feels like we're so entrenched in our own little ideological corner.
Right.
That we can't even talk to someone who sees things differently.
You can't even have a civil conversation anymore.
No.
It's crazy.
It's like TATANKA says.
What do they say?
Culture war, no room for change. We're so busy demonizing the other side that we forget we're all in this together.
Yeah, we're all human beings at the end of the day. We've got to remember that.
And it's not even just political differences anymore.
No, it's everything.
This tribalism is everywhere.
It's social issues, cultural issues, you name it.
Yeah, it's like we're all stuck in these echo chambers.
Oh, totally.
Where we only hear what we already believe.
Yeah, you just surround yourself with people who agree with you.
Right.
And you never get exposed to any other viewpoints.
Which brings us to their third song, Smoke and Mirrors on the Feed.
Oh, this one's good.
This one really gets into how technology and all the information overload is impacting
it's huge.
How we view democracy in the world around us.
Yeah, it's like drinking from a fire hose.
Right.
You know, there's so much information coming at us from all directions.
We're bombarded with so much information every day, and it's hard to know what's true and what's not.
Exactly. And TATANKA talks about algorithms feeding us reposted truths and recycled hate. It's like we're drowning in a river of lies.
And it's easy to get so caught up in the outrage of the day.
Oh, yeah.
The constant stream of headlines that we become numb to it all.
Totally numb.
Yeah, it's like we're losing our ability to think critically.
Right.
To see through the smoke and mirrors.
It's like a self-imposed narcosis.
Exactly. So how do we break free from that?
That's the big question, isn't it?
How do we become more discerning, more aware of the forces that are shaping our online experiences?
Right.
TATANKA definitely makes you think about that.
They really do.
And then they take us down kind of a darker path with Big Brother's watching for your own good.
Ooh, that's a creepy one.
Yeah, this one tackles the growing concern over surveillance and the impact it has on our freedoms.
Yeah, that Big Brother thing is real.
It's creepy, right?
It is.
That feeling like we're constantly being watched.
All the time.
Our every move tracked and recorded.
They're listening, they're watching.
It's like that classic Big Brother fear coming to life. And it raises that age-old question about security versus liberty.
Right.
We're told that all this surveillance is for our own good.
Right. For your own safety, they say.
To keep us safe, but at what cost?
Exactly.
Are we willing to give up our privacy for the illusion of security?
That's the trade-off, isn't it?
TATANKA really hits on that tension.
Oh, they do?
With lines like, is privacy too much for you to ask?
Ooh.
You're free to live under their watchful mask.
Chilling.
It's unsettling, but it's a conversation we need to be having.
We can't just ignore it.
Absolutely. And then they shift gears a bit with sold to the highest bidder.
Ah, yes, the almighty dollar.
This one tackles the corrupting influence of money in politics.
Which is basically everything.
Which is something that's been a concern.
Forever.
For a long time.
Yeah, since the beginning of time, probably.
But feels especially relevant today.
Oh, for sure, especially now.
Yeah, it's like democracy itself is up for auction.
It's all about the Benjamins, baby.
They've got this line.
What's the line?
Democracy's on the table, up for sale.
Wow.
Which is pretty sobering when you think about it.
Yeah, it's like they're selling our future to the highest bidder.
The lyrics are super blunt, too.
They don't hold back.
Describing a system where politicians are selling out our votes for a quick buck.
Ugh, it's disgusting.
And corporate dollars own everything.
It's true, though.
It really captures that feeling of betrayal.
Yeah.
A lot of people feel like their voices aren't being heard.
Like they don't matter.
Because they don't have the money to make them heard.
Exactly.
Exactly. It's like the system is rigged against everyday people.
It is rigged.
And speaking of systems that feel rigged, their next song, Paper Trails to Nowhere.
This one's a bit more subtle.
Might seem a bit mundane compared to the previous ones.
Yeah, but it's just as insidious.
But it's equally important in understanding the state of democracy.
Absolutely.
It's about the frustration of bureaucracy.
The endless red tape.
The endless paperwork.
The forms. The waiting, the delays.
The feeling that you're just chasing paper trails to nowhere.
And getting nowhere fast.
And then that nothing ever changes.
It's soul-crushing.
We've all been there, right?
Oh yeah, who hasn't?
Stuck in that loop of delay and denial.
It's like a black hole.
Suffocated by forms, it's enough to make anyone feel powerless.
Exactly. And that's exactly the point TATANKA's making.
Okay.
They're connecting that feeling of bureaucratic inertia to a broader sense of powerlessness in society.
I see.
It's like these systems are designed to keep us from enacting real change.
So what do we do about it? How do we make these systems more efficient?
Yeah, how do we fix it?
More responsive to the needs of the people they're supposed to serve?
It's a tough one.
It's a tough question, but one that TATANKA definitely forces us to consider.
They definitely make you think.
And then the album takes a much darker turn with Echoes of the Strongman.
Ooh, this one gives me chills.
This one is a warning.
Yeah, a big warning.
About the rise of charismatic leaders who exploit fear and division to gain power.
It's like they're looking into a crystal ball.
This one is unsettling, for sure.
It is.
They paint this picture of a leader who feeds on fear, thrives on rage, and uses manipulation to gain control.
Classic demagoguery.
It's hard not to think about some of the political figures.
Well, yeah.
We've seen rise to prominence in recent years.
Too many.
Right. It's like they're tapping into this archetype.
Right.
The strong man who promises simple solutions to complex problems.
Yeah, they make it sound so easy.
And preys on people's anxieties.
It's a dangerous game they're playing.
It's a cautionary tale about how easily democracy can be eroded if we're not careful.
We have to be vigilant.
The title itself, Echoes of the Strongman, is a reminder that this isn't a new phenomenon.
This has been happening for centuries.
We've seen this pattern repeat itself throughout history. Charismatic leaders who exploit fear and division to gain power. It's a reminder to be vigilant, to learn from the past, and be wary of those who offer easy answers to complex problems.
Absolutely. History repeats itself.
And then they shift gears again with pitchforks versus PhDs, which tackles a different kind of conflict, the one between populist anger and expert knowledge.
Oh, this is a big one.
This one is so relevant to what we're seeing today, right?
Oh, totally.
It's like there's this growing distrust of experts and institutions, a feeling that the elite are out of touch with the needs of everyday people.
Yeah, the coastal elites, they call them.
Right, and TATANKA captures that perfectly with the imagery of pitchforks representing the anger of the masses.
Right.
And PhDs representing the intellectual elite.
It's a perfect metaphor.
It's a clash of perspectives, a breakdown in communication and trust.
It's like they're speaking different languages.
It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
No.
But TATANKA doesn't take sides.
They just lay it all out there.
They just present the conflict and leave us to grapple with the implications.
Which is what art should do, right?
It makes you think about how we bridge that divide.
Right.
How do we create space for constructive dialogue?
Yeah, how do we talk to each other again?
How do we rebuild trust in a world where everyone seems to be talking past each other?
It's a tough one.
It's a challenge, but it's one we have to address if we want to move forward.
We have to find a way.
And then they take a more introspective turn with Silence of the Voting Booth.
Oh, this one's heartbreaking.
This one is all about voter apathy. The feeling that your vote doesn't matter.
Yeah, that feeling of hopelessness.
They paint this picture of disillusionment and resignation.
Right.
A sense that the system is rigged and that there's no point in even trying to participate.
It's like, why bother?
It's a haunting song.
Yeah,
with lines like, what if it's a whisper in a sea of noise? The choices are made, but they're all the same. A game for the rich, but you can't play the game.
Wow.
It's a reminder that democracy requires active participation.
Absolutely.
When people lose faith in the system and choose to remain silent,
Right.
it creates a void that can be exploited by those who seek to undermine democratic values.
And that's what they're counting on.
Exactly. It's a call to action, a plea to reclaim our agency and make our voices heard, even if it feels like a whisper in a sea of noise.
We have to speak up.
And then they shift back to a more critical lens with pretty faces, empty promises.
Well, this one's a good one.
This one is a sharp take on performative activism.
Yeah, the kind that's all about appearances.
The kind that focuses on appearances rather than meaningful change.
Right. It's all about looking good, but not actually doing anything.
It's like they're saying, don't be fooled by the pretty faces and the empty promises.
Right. See through the facade.
Look beyond the surface-level gestures and demand real action from those in power.
Hold their feet to the fire.
They've got these lyrics about pretty faces hiding a lack of genuine commitment to progress.
Yeah, it's all smoke and mirrors.
It's about seeing through the smoke and mirrors, again, recognizing that real change requires more than just symbolic representation.
Actions speak louder than words.
Exactly. It's about holding leaders accountable for their actions and making sure they're not just paying lip service to important issues.
They have to walk the walk.
And then they hit us with the noise, the narcosis.
Oh, this one's a doozy.
Which is all about the overwhelming and numbing effect of the 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧 news cycle.
It's like a constant assault on our senses.
I think we can all relate to this one, right?
Oh, yeah?
It's that feeling of being bombarded with information.
From all sides.
To the point where it becomes difficult to process or even care.
You just shut down?
They talk about drowning in the waves of this endless tragedy and being numb to the headlines.
It's like we've become desensitized to it all.
It's like we're being lulled into a state of passivity by the constant stream of negativity and sensationalism.
It's a form of brainwashing.
It's like a form of media-induced narcosis.
Exactly.
And it raises the question of how we stay informed without being overwhelmed.
Right. How do we filter out the noise?
How do we engage with the news in a way that's both critical and constructive?
It's a challenge, for sure.
It's a challenge, and then they wrap things up with the #revolution.
The #revolution.
Which critiques the disconnect between online activism and real-world change.
Yeah, slacktivism at its finest.
This one is all about slacktivism.
Yeah.
The idea that we can change the world by simply clicking a button or sharing a hashtag.
Right, like that's going to do anything.
It's about the tendency to prioritize online engagement over real-world action, to confuse social media activism with genuine social change.
It's easy to feel like you're making a difference when you're just sitting behind a screen.
They ask this really thought-provoking question.
Note that.
Is this how democracy dies in digital tweets?
Wow, that's deep.
It's a reminder that real change requires more than just hashtags and likes.
Right.
It demands sustained effort, organization, and a willingness to challenge the status quo.
You have to get out there and do something.
Exactly. So what do you think so far?
I'm blown away.
Is TATANKA painting a realistic picture of the world we're living in?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you see yourself in any of these songs?
In all of them.
Let's take a quick pause here and come back to unpack the rest of this album in a bit.
Sounds good. It's wild how TATANKA manages to weave together all these different threads, into this cohesive narrative about a state of democracy today. And, they're not just pointing fingers, they're asking tough questions and prompting us to really think about what kind of world we're creating.
Totally. And they do it in a way that's both thought-provoking and musically engaging. Like, it's not just some dry lecture set to music. It's raw. It's emotional.
It's real.
It's powerful.
Absolutely. So let's dig a little deeper into some of the themes.
Okay.
We talked about that sense of disillusionment.
Yeah.
With the political process.
Yeah.
The feeling that it's all just a big electoral circus. I think that resonates with a lot of people these days.
For sure, especially with all the scandals and the constant campaigning. Like, it's easy to feel like politicians are more interested in grabbing headlines than actually serving the people.
It's all about their image and their brand.
And then there's that whole tribal war and suit and tie thing.
Oh, yeah.
We're so quick to judge and demonize anyone who disagrees with us.
Yeah, you're either with us or against us.
It's like we've lost the ability to have civil discourse.
Totally.
To find common ground.
We've forgotten how to disagree respectfully.
Right. It's almost like we're addicted to outrage.
Oh, yeah.
We get so caught up in the back and forth.
More drama.
The constant fighting.
The fighting.
That we forget about the bigger picture.
Exactly. We lose sight of what's really important.
And all that information overload we talked about with smoke and mirrors on the feed.
Oof. Don't get me started.
That just makes it worse.
It's like a fire hose of information.
Right.
Can't even process it all.
We're bombarded with so much information from so many different sources.
It's overwhelming.
That it's hard to know what to believe.
Exactly. You don't know what's real anymore.
It's like we're constantly on edge waiting for the next bombshell.
Right.
The next scandal, the next outrage.
It's exhausting.
And it's exhausting.
It really is. And it makes it that much harder to engage in meaningful conversations about the issues that matter.
Right.
You know, we're so busy reacting to the latest headline that we don't have time to think critically.
Right.
To form our own opinions.
And then there's that creeping fear of surveillance.
Oh, yeah. Big Brother's always watching.
The big brother watching over us.
It's creepy.
It's a trade-off, right?
It is a tough one.
Security versus liberty.
Right.
How much are we willing to sacrifice in the name of safety?
That's the question, isn't it?
It's a question that's been around for centuries.
Yeah.
But it feels even more relevant today with all the technology.
At our disposal.
Yeah, our phones are listening to us.
We have cameras everywhere.
They know everything.
Facial recognition software, data tracking.
It's kind of scary when you think about it.
It's easy to feel like we're being watched all the time.
All the time.
And it makes you wonder who's really benefiting from all this surveillance. Right? Who's pulling the strings?
Is it really about keeping us safe, or is it about control?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
And then TATANKA hits us with that gut punch.
Oh,
sold to the highest bidder.
Oof, that one hurts.
It's a reminder that money talks in our society.
Money talks.
Especially in politics.
Money screams.
It's hard to deny the influence of big money.
It's everywhere.
In our political system, lobbyists, campaign donations, special interests, it all adds up.
It's a rigged game.
And it can feel pretty demoralizing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like your vote doesn't really matter.
Like you're powerless.
Because the decisions are being made by those with the deepest pockets.
The ones who can afford to buy influence.
Totally. It makes you want to just throw up your hands and say, what's the point?
Right.
But then you hear a song like Paper Trails to Nowhere.
Ugh, I hate paperwork.
And you realize that apathy is exactly what they want.
Exactly. They want us to give up.
It's that bureaucratic nightmare.
The worst.
The endless paperwork.
So much paperwork.
The feeling like you're just a cog in a giant machine.
A tiny, insignificant cog.
It's enough to make anyone feel helpless.
Totally hopeless.
But it's important to remember that those systems were created by people.
That's true.
And people can change them.
We have the power.
Exactly. It's a reminder that we have a voice.
We do.
We have the power to make a difference.
Even if it's just a small one.
Even if it's just by speaking out, by voting, by demanding better from our elected officials.
We have to hold them accountable.
So true. And then there's that warning about the echoes of the strongman.
Ooh, that one's scary.
It's chilling how relevant that song feels today.
It's like they knew this was coming.
We've seen this pattern repeat itself throughout history. Charismatic leaders who rise to power by exploiting fear and division.
It's a tale as old as time.
It's a reminder that democracy is fragile.
Very fragile.
And that we can't take it for granted.
We have to fight for it.
It's like TATANKA is saying, don't be fooled by the promises. Don't be seduced by the simple solutions. Think critically. Be vigilant and stand up for what you believe in.
Powerful words.
I think that's a message we all need to hear right now.
Absolutely. You can't afford to be complacent.
And then they hit us with that clash of perspectives, pitchforks versus PhDs.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It's such a powerful metaphor for the divide we're seeing in society today.
It's like we're two different countries.
It's the educated elite versus the working class.
The haves and the have-nots.
The experts versus the people who feel like they've been left behind. It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
Ooh, that's a mess.
But I think the key is to start listening to each other.
Yeah.
To try to understand where the other side is coming from.
To see things from their perspective.
To find some common ground.
We have to find a way to connect.
Exactly. We can't keep talking past each other.
We're all in this together.
We have to find a way to bridge that divide.
It's the only way forward.
And then there's that haunting reminder of the silence of the voting booth.
Yeah, the people who have given up.
The people who have lost faith in the system, who feel like their voices don't matter.
The silent majority.
It's a reminder that democracy only works if we all participate.
We can't just sit on the sidelines.
We can't just sit on the sidelines and complain. We have to get involved.
We have to make our voices heard.
And we have to be wary of pretty faces, empty promises.
Oh, yeah. The charlatans.
The people who talk a good game.
Who don't actually do anything.
But don't actually deliver.
All talk, no action.
It's about seeing through the smoke and mirrors again.
Right. Don't be fooled by the hype.
Holding leaders accountable for their actions and demanding real change.
They have to earn our trust.
And then there's that feeling of being overwhelmed by it all.
Ugh, the information overload.
The news, the noise, the narcosis.
It's too much.
We're bombarded with so much negativity and sensationalism.
Yeah, it's hard to escape.
It's easy to become numb to it all.
You just tune it out.
It's like we're drowning in a sea of information, and it's hard to know what to believe anymore.
You lose your bearings.
But we can't give up. We have to find a way to stay informed without being overwhelmed.
Right.
To filter out the noise and focus on the signal.
We need to be discerning consumers of information.
Exactly, and that's where the hashtag revolution comes in.
Ah, yes, the hashtag revolution.
It's a critique of slacktivism, the idea that we can change the world by simply sharing a hashtag.
Yeah, like that's going to solve anything.
It's a reminder that real change requires more than just online activism.
Right.
It requires sustained effort, organization, and a willingness to get our hands dirty.
You have to put in the work.
So where do we go from here? What are the key takeaways from all this? What does TATANKA want us to do with all these thoughts and emotions they've stirred up?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think the main takeaway is that democracy is not a spectator sport.
Right.
It's something we have to actively participate in. We have to be informed, engaged, and willing to fight for what we believe in.
Totally. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about having those tough conversations, about finding common ground, and about working together to create a better world.
Absolutely. And it starts with each and every one of us.
So what resonated most with you so far? What are you taking away from this deep dive into TATANKA's Democracy? We'll come back in a bit to wrap things up and see where this musical journey has taken us.
Man, it's amazing how music can just be such a powerful mirror.
Oh, yeah.
Reflecting back all these complex feelings we have about
Absolutely.
the world, and TATANKA doesn't sugarcoat anything.
Nope.
They just put it all out there.
They lay it all on the line.
The good, the bad.
All of it.
The ugly.
Reasonably true.
It's like they're giving a voice to that unease I think a lot of us feel,
Oh, totally.
That nagging sense that something's not quite right with the way things are going.
Yeah, like that feeling in the pit of your stomach that something's off.
Totally. And they do it in a way that makes you want to listen,
Yeah.
It's not preachy. It's not condescending.
No, it's real.
It's just honest, raw emotion.
Right. Set to some killer music.
They rock.
I think that's why it resonates so much with people.
Yeah.
It's relatable. They're tapping into those universal anxieties I think we all have about
the future.
The future.
The state of the world.
The state of democracy.
Our place in it all, yeah.
Our place in it all, absolutely. And by asking those tough questions,
Yeah.
by challenging our assumptions, they're encouraging us to
think for ourselves.
Think critically, to engage with these issues in a more meaningful way.
Not just passively consume.
Right.
But to really grapple with them.
Exactly. It's like they're saying, hey, this is the world we're living in.
Right.
It's messy. It's complicated.
A mess.
But we can't just ignore it.
No.
We have to face it head on.
Head on.
Exactly. And we have to face it together.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest takeaways.
For sure.
For me, from this whole album. It's a reminder that we're not alone in this.
We're all in the same boat. Right.
We're all connected.
We're all in this.
We have to support each other.
Totally. And we have more power than we realize.
Oh, yeah.
If enough people start demanding change, if enough people start holding their leaders accountable, things can shift.
They can and they will.
So true. It's like TATANKA says in the hashtag revolution.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Real change requires more than just hashtags and likes.
Right.
It demands sustained effort, organization,
and action.
And a willingness to challenge the status quo.
You can't be afraid to rock the boat.
What resonated most with you from this deep dive into Democracy?
So many things.
Was there a particular song that really hit home or a lyric that stuck with you?
Well, I think Electoral Circus really captured that feeling of disillusionment with the political process, you know? It's all just a big show.
It's a powerful album.
Yeah.
It definitely leaves you with a lot to think about.
A lot to chew on.
TATANKA doesn't offer any easy answers, but they do challenge us to be more informed, more engaged, and more willing to fight for
what we believe in.
The kind of world we want to live in.
Exactly. And isn't that what great art is supposed to do?
Yeah.
Provoke thought, challenge assumptions, and inspire action?
Exactly. So if you haven't already, definitely give Democrazy a listen.
Yeah, check it out.
It's an experience that might just change the way you see the world.
Oh, yeah.
And your place in it.
For sure.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep the conversation going.
Peace out.